it's quite a personal journey. So back in 2023, my wife and I were in Thailand at a friend's wedding. She's like, we need to take a pregnancy test. So this is one of those songs which, like, while producing, I kept getting stuck also because I was like, the chorus hit and I was like, something is missing. In this section, it's just the key EP itself, but it's just a really low octave of the EP. Hi, this is Himonshu Parikh and you're watching me on Mashable Todd Fodd. Anyway, she took one and it came positive and we realized that she's pregnant. And it was big news for both of us. And we came back to India and I was just sitting with these big feelings basically of like, okay, like I'm gonna have a child. And we had been together for 10 years. And it started making me think about like our whole journey together, like our 10 years together. And what I kind of realized was that all the relationships that I live around with, like my wife, my parents, like my friends, my bandmates, they all move in these circles. That's where the whole EP came from for me basically. Circles is like the 4 stages. So it's broken into 4 songs in circles. The first stage being Dariya, which is for me like the moment you meet someone where they come into your life as an answer to a question you didn't even know you had. So, and I always like, I kind of wanted to start it like from the get-go rather than really creeping into it, which is why it starts off with this drum groove like straight up. Just a normal like drum groove which is like really punchy. And I had this like little synth melodic loop that I really liked, which I had to chop because if I open it up, this is what it actually is. It's something else. So I wanted to keep it just this thing. And if you do notice, like that's also the loop that kind of continues through the whole song. It's just like this one thing that goes on through the whole song. And then it moves to a very important lyric for me, which says like, "Tu banke jawab aise, like how do I answer this question? Like I don't have a question to the answer that you've come into my life as." You know, and that part, like I wanted to add a little more oomph, so I've added like again some backing vocals, some weird voices. And then I had this thing of basically here I've described like telling you like, okay, this is what's happening and you've come into my life as an answer to a question I didn't even know I had. And basically I have been hit by a wave of emotions. So like we've gone into this like river of emotions, we've changed. So that's why when the chorus hits, I wanted to change the groove, I wanted to change the sound, everything. To a slightly more groovy, dancey. So I wanted to keep it like kind of groovy and dancey in the back, but at the same time, like the melodic stuff is like quite ambient and like it's quite floaty essentially. And then I also added some vocal harmonies. So the melodic stuff is like very like ambient, very flowy, but at the same time like the groove I wanted to keep it like popping. So together it comes across nicely. And then like now in the song when the interlude kicks in, essentially the first melody that I sang, which was the that never repeats itself, but that comes in the form of a guitar basically now. So instead of me singing it, it's just a guitar part. And like there's a lot of piano stuff going on, which is like recorded live on this piano. Emotional melodic side basically, which to me is kind of what Dariya really comes out to be. It's like, it seems like a bright and energetic song, but it's also got like a very introspective melodic side to it essentially. A lot of guitar stuff. But the main thing here that is like keeping it going is just the bass, to be honest. Like the it's like 4 basses layered together. There's like one bass of like Serum that I had got, which is very distorted. And the rest of them are just like to make sure it cuts through the mix. They just have this like crispiness. So it's very important to add a crispiness to your bass so it sounds good. Like otherwise it sounds very dull. Like your whole mix sounds dull. But like some of the main stuff is like this kind of synth here. Like with my voice also doing the. And also, I mean, what kept happening was like initially there was this whole set of percussions that I didn't have in the track, like this. Like those percussions were not there. So this is one of those songs which, like, while producing, I kept getting stuck also because I was like the chorus hit and I was like something is missing. And I just kept like adding elements, removing elements, adding elements. And finally I landed up here with like some extra percussion, some other parts. I felt like it was moving nicely. So I just left it all in actually. And I was like, okay, it's very unlike me. I usually like to have very few elements, very clean. But I just like went with it on this one. I was like, it's fine. So all these guitars are live. They've been played by Harsh. All this piano stuff has also been recorded on this piano here. But to me, like, just that EP is like boring. So then we added a bunch of guitar stuff, which now if you hear it with the EP, it just kind of fills this like. So if I also open up the pads and that thing. Yeah, and then we go back to the pre-chorus because I just felt like melodically and compositionally that worked really well for me as a thing. Like it felt very smooth to me to go there. And also it's a good way for me to come back to the track, you know, because when you come back to the same section essentially, it's the same thing. So I wanted to take this little departure and come back here and then hit the chorus again. And then when we get into the chorus, get into this section the second time, the 2 section, there are a few more guitars playing and like, you know, there's a little more stuff happening. Ambient stuff like that. Just to add a little more excitement. But the crux of it all is like the drums and that thing which we spoke about in the start. And here, interestingly enough, like I haven't used bass in this section. It's just the EP itself, but it's just a really low octave of the EP because I wanted to save the bass for the chorus. So it sounds like there's a bass, but there's no bass actually. And back to chorus. And this again peppered with all these like nice ambient things, little mandolin, you know, pianos. So I think it's like an untidy mash of all of it that kind of makes this like bed of like emotions that you're floating in. And yeah, that's basically the whole track, man.